Public comment. Karen?
No thanks.
No public comment. Let's move. We're now down to DHHS.
Sure you have. Good afternoon, and thank you for allowing me to come present our quarterly report to you. You should have a written document that was submitted. I start with the attachment, which is a list of community meetings and collaborative efforts that either myself or people from my staff participate in each month. Some of them are monthly, some of them are quarterly, but I wanted, again, for you to all have an idea of what we do within the community, even though we're a state agency. I did also notice that there are a lot of acronyms in that list, so if there's anything, I'll try to spell them out for next time, but if there's anything you're interested in knowing more about, please let me know. Handle with Care is the work that we're doing with schools, police, and therapeutic providers. We've added 2 new schools or preschools this year. So Francis Street Primary is now receiving Handle with Care notices, as is the Felicians Children's Center. So again, if law enforcement officers are on scene and at a traumatic event and see children, they will let the school know to just handle that child with care in the days that follow that event. JobStar is our business resource network in Jackson. We are one of a number of counties in the state that worked to put this in place. I would say our main partner is United Way. They're the ones that sort of took this project on and got it moving. And it is one of my employees who works in businesses to ensure that the business's employees have the resources that they need to stay at work on a particular day. So in essence, if someone works at a lower income job where attendance is a major factor in being able to maintain that employment, having to handle some of the things that all of us handle on a regular basis can cause absences and can cause folks to lose their jobs. And so we work to help them overcome those barriers. So if they have a transportation issue or a childcare issue, they work to get that resource to that person so that they can stay employed. And in that way, it's part of United Way's mission to improve financial stability. The Jackson County Department of Health and Human Services went live with what we call universal caseloads on August 20th. We were the first larger size county to go live with this new way of doing business. I've explained it before, but it's sort of instead of caseworkers having large caseloads of 500, 600, 700 cases, sometimes getting up to 900 in the state, the way that the work is now being done is sort of the cases all sit in a cloud. And as the cases need something done, they come out of the cloud into a queue, and the workers are all sort of divided up into queues, and then they get that work done. We also have a contact call center, which is sort of our phone queue. That also means that my 60-some workers don't have voicemail. Clients don't have to call a specific number, leave a voicemail, or 2 or 3. And wait for the worker to get back to them. They will go into the contact call center, and their issue will be dealt with right at that time. We've been very successful in our launch of this program. We were, I would say, uber prepared in that we had done all of our sort of catch-up work and got as current as we could, which made us, I think, more successful. But we've even heard some folks in the community talking about it sort of off to the side in banks and restaurants about how the new way that we're doing business has been much better for them. So that's sort of the best thing, I think, is that when it's helpful for our customers. And finally in our report, Child Care Fund update. So as you know, I report on this each time I'm here, and we have been doing really well with our budget. Of course, we're heading into the last month of our fiscal year, and it wasn't until, I think, our last meeting at the end of August, our last board meeting, that we noted that we're probably going to go a little bit over in our residential line. We got back to the office, did some closer reviews, and decided that we would probably need about $100,000 more in order to not go over budget. We did move some things around within the line items as well to help cover that. We were able to make that request and get it approved, and so with the $100,000 additional, we should be fine for the rest of the year. Our budget remains the same next year in terms of what we propose to spend. Again, we'll maintain an eye on that each month, and I did make a note to my accounting people to really start looking at the last 3 months of the year instead of getting to the end of August before we are able to make note of that, because it was a little bit rushed, I would say. That's about it for my report, so if you have questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Committee? Commissioners, anyone? Okay. At Personnel and Finance, the $100,000 request was moved on to the full board, just for your information.
Great.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Zoe.
Thank you.
All right. And we're now down to the Medical Care Facility quarterly report. Sandra? Hi.
Hello, everyone. You should have your reports. I just wanted to highlight a few things in the financial section. Our census is running lower because we have to transfer. That's the only way you can do it when you're going to change occupancy areas in a building. So we have to decrease the number in our Alzheimer's dementia neighborhood to move those beds down to the renovation area. The renovation is all on target, and they are planning on finishing by September 30th, and then we have to wait for our occupancy survey. Besides the news that I shared with you in the written report, I did receive just the other day the fact that our Medicaid rate is going up. They cut it significantly 2 years ago and then gave us back 40 cents last year. But now it has giving us back the full $11 that they took, which equates to about $750,000 to us. So that is, we're happily in receipt of that. I also have the annual resolution to present to Mr. Rice, if I am able to do so, for the transfer of the interest payment and the pre-1989 retirees. That amount now is down to $14,953.72. So we're inching down. Thank you, everyone.
Someone said aye? Opposed, nay? Thank you. All right, thank you.
We've had quite a bit of change in our management for nursing, and I listed those for you so that you can familiarize yourself with how we have changed our structure and our people, and that is working out absolutely beautifully. We're very pleased with that. Our PC Solutions contract that we had for IT also has worked out very, very well. And this next year, we're going to be evaluating for our budget whether or not we are going to change the type of plan we have with them, but we are going to continue with them another year. We had our Taste of the Fair for our residents and their families, and we had our usual cotton candy machine there, elephant ears, and we had chickens as our fair animals that were present at the time. Our union contracts have been completed and ratified. We've completed all of our initial interviews, except for one, for our HR director. So we hope to have a decision for that position at the end of next week. Everything else, all the routine stuff is going as normal. Continuing with the fireside chats. That has worked out very well. We've gotten a lot of positive comments on that. We again met with the Care Collaborative for Henry Ford Hospital, and the goals of this group include improved community care access across the continuum. We're delighted to partner with them for the reduction of rehospitalizations and to improve health information and continuity of services. So that group has sort of risen from the ashes again, and I'm pleased that we are part of that. We continue as a 4-star facility. We're 5 stars in quality, 5 stars in RN staffing, and 5 stars in general nursing staffing, and that is as good as it gets. Our antipsychotics are below state and national averages. Our falls are below state and national averages. And all of our QMs that have to do with reimbursement are spot on. So we're doing very, very well there. Our duplicate medication use is in line and actually improving. And our quality assessment and performance improvement plan is in line with our facility assessment that has to be done annually. We have numerous quality projects that are currently in process and continue to be adjusted and used as oversight for our teams and our operations. We've been asked to be involved with a special dementia training program that we are getting for free for all the medical care facilities in the state that wish to participate. We're very excited about that because it's a very, very, very good training. Again, you're welcome to stop by the renovation before they finish it up. You can actually walk through it pretty easily now, so you can see what it's going to look like and how it's coming along. Furnishings are being ordered and are mostly done, being ordered. Completion date was set for 9/15, but they readjusted to 9/30. That was the original one. So that's pretty much my report. Yes.
Go ahead.
Could you go over the duplicate medication issue? I'm not aware of that.
The problem in nursing homes, and strictly nursing homes, is if you were to use, for instance, 2 dementia or 2 depression drugs, unless the physician actually indicates the risk-benefit in their medical notes, the state will cite the nursing home for duplicate medications. So there has to be some things like the neurotransmitter is best used for this one and the neurotransmitter for this is best used for that one. That's kind of how it is. They don't like any unnecessary meds at all, especially anything that has to do with altering any sort of state of consciousness. So, and they are very, very strict.
Okay.
If you want any other information, just email me and I'll be happy to get you some more if that is helpful to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chair?
How's the transition of the board? I know you've got new people on it and everything going well this year, after 1 year?
It is. It is. I think it's better than when it even started, when the transition started. I think we've kind of found our pace and found our rhythm, and we're working things out, yes.
Is Mr. Markowski still assisting with the financials?
He is. He is the consultant to the board. And he is very helpful.
Anything else?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're on to D now.
Good afternoon, and half of the crew from the Extension Office. So, thank you again for the opportunity to come and present some of the highlights of the work that we do at Extension in the county. And we have a couple of staff introductions and some thought it would be good for you to hear directly from those involved in the program, so we'll kind of interchange as we go throughout. Also, just to let you know, there is one slide different in the presentation you'll be seeing than what's in your packets. It's just one during the nutrition thing that we swapped out kind of at the last minute. And then also, several of us have other meetings and events and things, so we might be scattering before your meeting concludes, so apologize for that in advance. But just a kind of quick reminder of what we do. We have the 4 main programming areas, nutrition and health, 4-H youth development, and then agriculture and natural resources, areas that we predominantly work in. And so we've been in Jackson actually for 101 years now. I was looking at some of the statistics that the first educator was hired in Jackson County in May of 2007 or of 1917. So 101 years of service. So we're pleased to have that continued partnership. So with that, I'm going to hand things over to Angela to talk some about our nutrition programs.
Hello, Angela. I teach the SNAP education classes around Jackson County. So this summer, some updates. We do some fun programs in the summer. We bring agriculture to some of the inner city children. So we did Discover Michigan Fresh Junior. This helps familiarize kids with how plants are grown, how their vegetables and fruits are grown. They get to touch the plants, see them. I partnered with a woman who actually grew the plants at her site, so we got to use those in our recipes. We all added ingredients to a bowl and shook it up together, so they got to be involved in that food making process. And then we did do a tour of the Grand River Market. Bob Berger helped us with that, the market manager there. And we also do,
I was just going to say you can use the mouse.
okay, thanks. We also do this program with adults, help familiarize them with what's in season, and they learn how to pick and use and preserve some of the items at the farmer's market. We are trying to spread the word more on the Double Up food bucks and the Project Fresh coupons so that people are well aware of those benefits and are using them. And a lot of times, some of the stuff in season they don't know how to use, so we help them with that. So we had 10 classes at the Grand River Market over the last 3 months, and we'll continue with that at the Henry Ford Green Market as well through October. So in addition, year-round, I do the adult and senior nutrition education. We do hands-on learning. We incorporate a lot of cooking skills. If the participants want that, we have kitchen giveaways that we can help people with, like cutting boards and measuring cups and that sort of thing. So a lot of people who go to food pantries and stuff really appreciate those tools. We even have pedometers and cookbooks. So we have Eat Smart, Live Strong, and Eat Healthy, Be Active are the 2 adult curriculums that I teach around the county. They help everyone maintain a healthy weight, increase physical activity just on a daily basis. We use spices and herbs instead of salts for flavoring dishes, and then also we do a lot with budgeting food dollars, because nearly all the participants are on a pretty strict budget that we're working with. And then in addition, we're about to start Fuel Up to Play 60 as the school year starts. I don't have a slide on this, but Springport Middle School has opted in to do Fuel Up to Play 60, which is a school-wide nutrition and physical activity program. So I have a teacher there that we're assembling our student body right now to do that, and it helps encourage youth to lead healthier lives. So we're really excited to get that off the ground this year. Any questions on that? Andrea's up, but she's not here.
All right, so I'm Brittany James, 4-H Program Coordinator. So most of you, I think, are familiar with 4-H through participation with the Fair Board and other activities. We're most known for being the animals down at Fair. But we actually have quite a few things going on this year that are different from what we've done in the past. So these are my favorite pictures from the fair. I think there's a lot of really great stuff in here that shows the camaraderie with the kids. In this middle photo, every single kid in that picture are actually competing against each other, and you wouldn't even know it. They're really great about building each other up and kind of creating that community. One of the big initiatives for this year is that we've actually added 2 new clubs. We're working on filling in that county map and trying to get into some of the areas we're not traditionally at. Actually, we are in the process of starting 2 other clubs. So within a 6-month period, we've started 4 new clubs within the County of Jackson. So this year, we're focusing on engaging stakeholders that we don't normally reach, businesses and other people who might not know exactly what we do. One of the big initiatives right now is I actually hired a program assistant, so we're working on expanding our programming into non-traditional areas, and actually I just made an offer and I'm waiting on acceptance to hire an AmeriCorps member. So we'll have someone that's actually focused on STEAM programming within the schools. All right, next I'm going to pass it off to Tom to talk about some of their livestock stuff.
Greetings. I'm Tom Guthrie, extension educator. I work with the livestock industries, more specifically the equine industries. Back in March, I gave a report on an upcoming program that we were doing, emergency response to livestock transport trailer rollover accidents. We did hold that training May 11th and 12th at the Calhoun County Fairgrounds. The reason why we suggested that site was that I-94, I-69 corridor to try to maximize participants. We had about 60 participants that came from many counties across Michigan. Also, participants came from the states of Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, Nebraska, and Oklahoma. So we had some interest from other folks out of state. Evaluation results of the program, as you can see here, 88.46% of the respondents indicated that they were significantly better prepared to handle or assist with an accident involving livestock, and the other 11.54% indicated that they were somewhat more prepared. There's a note on here from one of the participants that has many, many years of experience, 39 years, matter of fact, said the class was excellent and hopes to see another program just like this in the future. So the next steps, we've got really good reviews and more interest for more programming like this. So a few of my colleagues and I, actually today was the deadline for submission. We're submitting a Michigan Alliance of Animal Agricultural grant. It's an online, we're looking at doing online training modules for folks that they can go through, do more in-person workshops and hands-on animal handling. And that was one of the things that was really of interest to the participants. They really enjoyed the hands-on animal handling portion of the program. And then currently I'm working with a county in south central Michigan to assemble an emergency response trailer that is equipped to respond to accidents involving livestock. And as you know, coincidentally, we had this training in May, and there was a livestock rollover accident in August with sows. So anyway. Any questions?
What's all needed in that trailer?
You got panels, you've got sorting boards for pigs, halters, fence posts, the list is long.
Have you talked with, I realize it's the human side, but the fire departments in Jackson County have gotten together and put together an emergency response vehicle and trailer for the exhausted firefighters when they're dealing with an incident.
Okay.
Have you possibly talked to them about things that you can share or any of that type of stuff?
I have not, but that's a really good point.
Okay.
Yeah.
John Warden at Summit Township and Napoleon Township would be the contact person on that.
Okay.
And they could be able to help you at least with your list and check off and that type of stuff.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks.
I promise not to talk about tomatoes.
Oh, thank you. So my name is Phil Toko. I'm with Michigan State Extension. I do on-farm produce safety statewide. But first off, we're going to talk about a small program that I do sort of in county called Jackson County Family Farm Fest. It actually is happening this weekend at 3 sites, Rittermark Farms, Choate's Belly Acres, and Jackson Area Career Center down in Columbia Township. Normally we get between 500 and 1,000 people at sites, at various sites around the county, and we try and spotlight farms that are doing some neat things and innovative things. Last year we had 500 people at each site of each of 4 sites when we were in sort of the southern between Grass Lake and Columbia Township, so sort of that Norvell Township area. This year, with having a dairy on the schedule as well as a horse farm on the schedule and then the Career Center, it should be pretty awesome. If you all want to volunteer, you're all welcome to come out. We're meeting out at Rittermark Farms 8:30 in the morning on Saturday morning, and y'all are welcome to help out where you can. Sort of my main focus is working on on-farm food safety, particularly with produce growers. My goal is to help you not barf when you eat cantaloupe and salad. So that's what I aim at. We were blessed enough to receive an FDA grant, and as part of that FDA grant, we were able to hire 2 individuals. The first one is Heather Borden, and she is working as a logistics coordinator for the Food Safety Modernization Act produce rule. And then also, I'm going to let them both introduce themselves, but Allison Work is also hired under that grant as well. She's working on digital communications. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Heather.
Okay. So you might remember me. I was doing nutrition education for the last 2 years and reporting on that. I changed roles. I'm working with Phil now on the FSMA food safety program, and what the logistics coordinator is responsible for. Basically, I'm the liaison between the farmers in Michigan and the teams of trained individuals that are there to support them. So the Food Safety Modernization Act is federal rule. All farmers in the United States are going to be subject to it that are covered under the rule. So if they have a production scheme that the rule applies to, then they have to become compliant by a certain date. So what we're doing is making sure that the farmers know about that. We're kind of taking the legal, hard-to-read stuff and turning it into more layman language and doing trainings with them so that they can understand the rule and if it applies to them. So I coordinate those trainings around the state for Michigan growers. And then as a second step, we do on-farm readiness reviews, which just means we actually take a team of trained individuals to the farm, walk around with the farmers and try and make it as stress-free as possible, just looking at what they're doing and giving them recommendations where they might want to make some changes to make sure that they're compliant with the federal rule. So that's been my job. I started August 1st and it's been whirlwind, but we're doing really well, and we're reaching a lot of growers, and our goal is to reach all growers in Michigan and be able to tell them about the program, so if they're interested in the support, that they can come to us and get it. That's what I do. Thank you. Do you have any questions? I'm sorry. I didn't ask. Guess I'm eager to sit down.
Go.
Hi, I'm Allison. I'm the digital media designer. I started on August 20th, and basically I'm creating educational videos and graphics and about the Produce Safety Rule and the Food Safety Modernization Act, and just trying to get people to truly understand it and help out with Heather so that they know about the readiness reviews and the trainings and everything. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Safety questions?
I was just going to suggest I'd love to see some examples of your digital information pieces and stuff. If you could send them to me, email them, that'd be great. Thanks.
Fantastic. We can do that.
All right, so thanks again for the opportunity to present to you. One other area of agriculture work that we do, it's because the agricultural economy has been struggling a bit lately. Communicating with farmers under stress workshops have been pretty popular around the state. We have had some Jackson participation in that. It's a joint effort between our social emotional health team and our agriculture finance team, trying to work with growers to help them cope with some of the issues of stress, especially when their farms are under financial stress as well. So had good participation in that, look to continue that moving forward. And with that, it's just a sampling of some of the work that we've done in Jackson by staff housed here, and we have, again, staff housed around the state that are providing services to Jackson County as well. So if there's anything you can think of that we could do some programming in, be happy to hear from you and help as we can. So with that, any questions?
Questions or comments? Let me cover everybody, Matt. Any questions or comments for Matt, or Angela, or Brittany, or Tom, or Phil, or Heather, or Allison? Covers everybody. Thank you very much.
Appreciate the time. Thanks.
Yes.
I can barely remember their names.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
For the old dude.
Good afternoon. With our food service program, we periodically do checks on prices. Recently, the overall food purveyor agreement was approved by the Board of Commissioners for Van Eerden, and now we're coming and asking this committee to approve the contract for our milk provider. The milk is purchased separate from our main food purveyor. So we worked with COPMEC, Michigan Association of Counties, CoPro, and Chuck Wolford submitted requests for prices, and there's an attachment that show the price quotes from Prairie Farm, Dean Foods, as Smith Dairy, although Smith Dairy did not respond. So looking at prices for the quantity that we purchase of pints and quarts, then the best price would be Prairie Farms, and that is the vendor that we've been using for the past 8 years. When we checked milk prices 4 years ago, it was Prairie Farms was the best price, and they continue to be a good price for us. So because our purchase of milk is below $75,000 a year, it's up to the Human Services Committee to approve the contract. Any questions?
Okay, questions or comments for Marcy? And again, like she said, this will stay within Human Services. The amount is expected to be about $43,500.
Yes, for a year.
Okay. Move to approve? Second. Motion for, okay. All those in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay? Got it?
Thanks. I'll just comment, we just started using quarts recently for weekend meals. Some people receive 4 meals for the weekend, and instead of counting out 4 pints, they grab a quart. So our participants seem to like that. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, Lifeways, Mary Beth?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. So I wanted to, as a follow-up, obviously, from the study session last week, I'm here to talk about the request from Lifeways relative to pursuing a bond for capital improvements. One thing that I want to point out is that this bond is for the work that's necessary. Lifeways has experienced over the last couple of years that I've shared at the study session is that we have transformed our organization and our business model has significantly changed. We have expanded employees and the number of staff. And when the purchase of the building occurred at that time, the primary purpose was for administrative functions, and now we are providing direct services, a lot of them crisis diversion type services, and we need to renovate our building necessary to do the work that we are currently providing. The other thing that I wanted to mention as well is that the request, because it was asked, so relative to that, why, how does the bond differ from the millage? The millage is for mental health services. Clearly, that is exactly what the taxpayers approved the dollars for. The bond is for capital improvements that are necessary for the building. We would utilize the repayment of the bond through our funding stream. And what's important to note is that the majority of our funding that would be utilized for paying back the bond would be through Medicaid and Healthy Michigan. It does go over all of our funding streams, but 97% of our funding is Medicaid and Healthy Michigan. 2% is state general fund dollars, and 1% is local. Yeah, are there any questions?
Chairman, go ahead.
One question that's been raised, Mary Beth, and I thank you for coming today, is if if perchance Healthy Michigan or any of that was to run into trouble, how would we continue to pay for the bond?
Well, I mean, the county could have the option of utilizing the millage dollars to continue to pay for the bond. Is that what you're asking?
Well, I just want to make sure that we're not doing that.
No. I mean, I don't see that Healthy Michigan, I guess, I can't say what's going to happen with Healthy Michigan, and whether or not they're going to continue to expand Medicaid under Healthy Michigan. But Medicaid will still be there. There'll still be a need for the community mental health to provide chronic services for the chronically mentally ill.
Okay, and then another question was, and you touched on that, the bond is being completely used for capital improvement, while the millage is being completely used for healthcare and provided services to Jackson County residents only,
That's it.
not Hillsdale County residents and other counties also.
No, right. This Hillsdale County passed a millage that's separate for Hillsdale County residents. Jackson County passed a millage specific for Jackson County. There's a clear distinction in reporting and funding stream that our CFO has developed as part of our reporting to our board on a monthly basis that we'll be able to track the utilization of those dollars.
Are you comfortable with sharing that with the Board of Commissioners quarterly?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And what I have following, I'm on the agenda later, is a discussion about the millage itself, because it is about service delivery, and you'll see the breakdown in the proposal relative to the millage, and it's not at all being utilized for any capital.
And these questions are coming from commissioners who couldn't attend today.
Yes.
So I thank you again for sharing with us, and as we go forward, I'll make sure questions get to you.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else? Questions? Okay, if not, we'll be looking to send this to the full board. This will be the authorization of financing and capital improvement bonds. Excuse me, the total amount will be not to exceed $6,305,000. Okay. All those in favor, so we'll say an aye. Opposed, nay. All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Mary Beth.
You're welcome.
Jim, could you step up here, please?
Yes, sir.
You and I have talked, and Mary Beth is aware of this, but for the rest of the committee here and everybody up here, and even the audience, would you explain your part in this as far as us having to obligate this for the 45-day period? That's why we're going to do another vote on this as far as sending it to full board.
Yes, and also comment, the project cost of $6.2 million is for the construction and renovation, so there's additional cost, issuance cost and so forth, so hence we're asking for the $6,305,000 as the not to exceed for the bonds. The process for bonding requires the county to post a notice of intent to issue the bonds. And then there's a 45-day period under which the general public can file their objections to the issuance of the bonds. Typically, that's just a formality. So attached in the material for both items is a tentative timetable that shows the events that will occur. So in this case, it's 45 days from the date of publication of the notice, which we can do after the board meeting. The board will officially approve, so as soon thereafter we can publish that. Starts the 45-day period. Then there's another resolution that the board must approve for the actual issuance of the bonds, and then there's, with the idea that we would have a tentative closing on the bonds in December 20th in this case. But those dates can change plus or minus depending upon the scenario, depending on what events have to occur. So if there's any questions about that, this is the same process we've been through with respect to other county bonds.
All right, thanks, Jim. Any questions from the committee, anybody? Okay, I'll be looking for a motion of approval for resolution number 09-18.29. All those in favor, signal by saying aye. Opposed, nay. All right, thank you, Mitch. Thanks, Jim. All All right, Mary Beth, now you can have your report.
All right.
All right, the primary thing that I want to present today to the county commissioners is you'll have it in your packet, it's the full report that kind of outlines the Jackson County millage dollars. I've been working since the millage passed actually, with stakeholders for the last year, looking at those areas that we talked about relative to jail services, mental health services for the uninsured, mental health services to support the schools, law enforcement training, and also some grassroots programs for intellectually developmentally disabled, and the guardian services. So you'll see in this report a plan that outlines why it is that we pursued a mental health millage, what the challenges are, where the gaps are, and then to look at recommendations about how do we address those gaps relative to expanding services. And again, these dollars are for the use of services, mental health services. And so in your packet, you'll have, I'm not going to go over every single one, but hopefully you've had an opportunity to read it relative to what it is that we're proposing in each one of those areas. But I did work with stakeholders on the development of this plan and coming up with the estimates relative to the cost and the number of individuals served. Near the end of the packet, you'll actually see a breakdown that breaks out the millage dollars based on each one of those service areas, and that is included in your packet. In addition, I will be reporting quarterly, and I think this kind of gets to your question, Mr. Chair, relative to coming back and presenting on a routine basis relative to the use of the millage dollars. And what you'll see included in the packet as well is recommendations that I'm going to be tracking for outcomes. So showing how many people did we serve that were uninsured, how many services did we provide in the jails, and being able to report that on a quarterly basis to the county commission, because I think it is important that we are transparent with taxpayers relative to the use of these dollars. And so you'll see that included in here, and you'll see a report that'll come here quarterly. I think monthly would probably be a big administrative burden to do that on a monthly basis, but on a quarterly basis, I think that's absolutely fine. I think the other thing that I mentioned in here as well is that for future planning, we would be analyzing this on a yearly basis and saying, did we achieve what we had intended? And then reevaluating, because the opportunity that affords this community relative to this millage is the ability to not be locked into an annual commitment relative to the use of those dollars for 10 years. We can look as our community evolves and as needs change, we can change. So stay tuned, I guess I would say, is on an annual basis. You'll see that. I think, well, I don't think, but the next steps, and I would ask of the board relative to how they would like me to proceed, is that we do need to develop a contract and to outline the commitment between Lifeways and the county for the use of the millage dollars. I don't know if the county wants to initiate that, or they would be fine with me initiating that request. Okay. Have a meeting before the meeting, okay. Are there any questions? I will leave it now open to county commissioners. Yes.
Mary Beth, your graph there where it said total number of open positions going from 22, 23, and 28, are those positions that you just can't fill or people are not applying for?
Oh, you're looking at the monthly report? Yeah. I don't have that in front of me. Please repeat yourself, I'm sorry.
Or the graph where it says April, May, and June, and all open positions, and they have 22, 23, and 28. Are those open positions because people aren't applying, or they're not liking the job, or?
It's a combination of, right now, Lifeways, probably like a lot of organizations are struggling with, especially around clinical positions, filling clinical positions. Some positions we're not even getting applicants for. The current unemployment rate in Jackson, I believe, is 4.7%. And so, and we are competing with other, Henry Ford Allegiance Health, and other mental health providers in our community. So what you see there, it's a couple-fold. It's both not getting applicants, and then some people who are applying don't meet the minimum qualifications. So
I guess the bottom question about it is that we passed the millage, so you have the money, okay, but are we going to get the same mission statement, I guess, if we don't have the number of vacancies filled?
well, we are aggressively working to fill the positions. And the other important thing to note is that it isn't just all directly Lifeways. We contract with providers as well, so some of the services will be provided via our network, not Lifeways directly. So in the other positions, like the mental health and the jail, we already have the clinician there, so that's not a position that we're trying to fill at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Just one thing for me.
Yes.
I know we've discussed this at Lifeways, but what we just heard here from the doctor in regards to the open positions, and you have statements here on all these various prospective candidates, and every one of them did not come to Lifeways or did not stay with Lifeways because apparently the pay was not high enough.
Right, one of the things that we're doing is looking at some recruitment and retention strategies for our workforce, for our strategic plan. And when we analyze the data relative to staff that have left the agency since October, those that have left voluntarily, 9 out of 13 is because of the salary range, because of what they can make elsewhere.
Not to make this 21 questions, but when you say the salary range, is that primarily the public or private sector that we're struggling with?
I would say it's both, because some people have left to go to the private sector, and some have left for other public organizations.
Okay, well, this is something we can discuss later. I was just kind of wondering, from a pay structure standpoint, how do we compete with the other public CMHs, for instance, as far as paying our personnel that we're trying to...
We are currently on the lower, and that is an analysis that's being presented to the Lifeways board.
Right.
But we are on the lower end relatively. When you look at salary ranges, the minimum, mid, and maximum range for the clinical positions, we are down towards the lower end in comparison to other CMHs.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, you are correct. That's a problem throughout the human services field.
Yes,
Like,
so it's very competitive right at the moment.
all right, thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you.
Come on, Richard. Health Department.
Good afternoon to all. Before I get further into our monthly report, I want to just take a quick minute and remind us that we had a Fourth Amendment to the Medical Director Services Agreement that was approved last month. And I've asked Dr. Mike Faust to come and just do a quick introduction with you. He's here this morning, but I want to get him back to clinical as quickly as possible. Mike, want to say a few words to the board?
Hi, my name is Mike Faust. I grew up in Jackson. I've been working as a family physician for 22 years and various other things, and I started as a co-medical director at the health department in June of last year, and we'll continue to work with Cortland Katayan. And it's been a different experience and a good experience for me because it's quite a bit different than primary care in its scope. So, any questions or thoughts?
No.
Thank you for taking time out of your day, Doctor.
Oh, no problem. Dr. Tompkins.
Nice to see you again.
It's good to see you.
Welcome to the party.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dr. Faust. You're doing a great job. My report this month does have a bit of a significant piece in here about the funding of public health in Michigan overall. If you had a chance to review my report and read anything in there on the first page, the Nonpartisan Michigan Citizens Research Council issued a pretty comprehensive report in the month of August about public health funding, and the graph at the bottom of that page kind of shows where we are at relative to the 50 states, and looks like we're maybe about 10th or 12th, if you will, in terms of public health funding on a per capita basis. The report, and what I grabbed was the nutshell pieces from it, if you will, in my report, and I wanted to simply focus on a little bit of conversation about one of the things that we do advocate for here in Jackson in thinking about more, and I want to share more information about what it means to be a health in all policies philosophy. It does engage us in a way that would help us look at new proposals and projects and things that might have an impact on the health of the public, and if there's a way to integrate that a bit better than what we have in the past, we would like to try to do that with the board and the other municipalities in the community. That said, we're very appreciative here in Jackson and with the amount of resources that the board is able to give to the Public Health Department. Close to $1 million in infrastructure support is provided every year. We also get a general fund allocation that's very helpful, and those things all help. But on the programming side, if there was more that we could do, it certainly would benefit the community overall. So we'll encourage you to think about that. Earlier this year, Dr. Schultz and I, who was co-medical director at the point in time in August, we completed some interviews with the National Level Healthcare Transformation Task Force, and we were very positively represented on their link in their posted article on their website. So if you have a chance to go and take a look at that, I encourage you to do so. You may recall that we have a childhood-led exposure elimination grant from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services that we're working on. It's relatively small, about $15,000, but we're working with Jackson Community Medical Record to develop more capacity within the electronic medical record to refer pregnant women to the health department based on their consent. And there are loads of programs and services we have available to pregnant women in the community. This one was primarily focused on being able to refer them for a lead risk exposure assessment. This is not a big issue, if you will, within the pregnant women community, but there probably is up to about 1% of women who might test at 5 or higher for lead. And if she's testing at 5 or higher for lead, the fetus is also getting exposed. So this is trying to get as far upstream as we can with the lead issue in the community. I provide you with an update on the Jackson Care Hub, and this is, as I've previously talked about, the social determinants of health screening and referral platform that's operating in the community now. And this is reporting basically on the first 45 days since about the middle of June when this hub went active. You can see the number of screenings that are taking place and the number of referrals. And we are, remember, one of 5 state innovation model grant pilot sites in the state. We're one of the regions. And I think it's very unique that we actually are doing this social determinants of health screening and referral process even with within our primary care clinics here in Jackson. The slide at the bottom of that page shows that the patient-centered medical home data, we had 12 SIM practices participating. 4,589 screens were already done the first 45 days. So that's pretty significant, and we're really pleased with that result. I did have a chance on August 23rd to tour the new cardiac tower at the hospital. It was really quite impressive. The rooms are very large, they're unparalleled and private and spacious, and they have the latest technological innovations for cardiac care. I think that our community is going to be well served by this investment in patient-centered care. If you have a chance to tour, I would encourage you to do so. The Health Education Health Promotion Division reports that our application for renewal of our abstinence program was approved by the state. And this is another area where the county helps us out by assuring we have enough money for the local match requirement, which was $37,000. The budget request was $95,000. So thank you for allowing us to leverage on a 2-to-1 basis. The Get Real Summer Program is part of our abstinence program, if you will. And on July 26th, they had a huge group went on 2 buses, I think, to Lake Michigan as part of that summer program, and we're really pleased that they were able to do that. And St. Paul's Episcopal Church was really helpful in that whole effort. They provided the buses, they provided food, they provided lots of other things. And so if we get a chance to personally thank St. Paul's Episcopal Church, please feel free to do so. If you know the pastor there and the congregation, that would be a wonderful thing to do. We participated in the Jackson Pride Parade event on August 18th. We had a couple different staff there that were downtown, and we actually managed to do 1 HIV rapid test and provided hepatitis A vaccination, I believe, to 7 persons there at the site. And part of our reason for wanting to be there is that this particular population group in our community has been at increased risk for contracting hepatitis A in the current statewide outbreak. Down at the bottom, we have an update for you on the amount of hepatitis A vaccine we've actually given out in the community. We're up to 634 doses now, and we've increased our Hep A vaccination rate among adults from 4% to 14%, so that's good. The more we can vaccinate people against things like hepatitis A, the more we build up herd immunity in the community, the less likely we are to have an outbreak. We've also been monitoring very closely the PFAS and PFOS issue that's very much in the news nowadays. On August 24th, we received 6 PFAS sample site results, and actually, as of today, we received 30 sample results of the 46 sites that are being sampled in the county. They were all non-detect except for 2 sites, and those were not associated with schools, which we're really pleased to hear that. And they were at a level of 3 parts per trillion, and the action level is really about 70 or somewhat higher than that. So there's no real health concern or issue here at a 3 part per trillion level. And we're hoping that will continue. 45 of 46 sites have been sampled. There's 1 left to do, and we will probably have all those results within the next 30 days. And that's pretty much everything I had in my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Richard? Anyone? All right, very good report as usual. Thank you. Go on to your next item here.
The second item we had on your agenda today is the contracted service agreements, early on programming with the intermediate school district. These are the standard contracts we've had in place for a number of years now with the school district. The only real change in this is a slight change in the funding, which was we received a $4,275 increase from the previous year, a $12 decrease, if you will, from local ISD funding. I think those things kind of cancel each other out, so I'm not concerned about it. We have a good relationship with the school district, and they continue to want us to provide the early on services that are discussed in the contract. So I'd encourage your approval to move this forward.
Okay, this is something we've done each year. Hello? Any comments or questions? Okay. All those in favor, signal saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay? How about a motion and support first? Okay, we got motion and support. And all those in favor, signal saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay? Thank you, Carrie. Keep me in line.
Thank you.
We're good. Thank you. Okay, we're down to claims. Need to send the claims to full board.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all those in favor, someone saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, other minutes. The other minutes on there, DHHS, medical care facility, so on and so forth. October reporting schedule. Department of Aging, Health Department, Animal Shelter, CAA, Region 2, AAA. Oh gosh, and Lifeways again. Okay. Public comment. No public comment. Committee members comment. Nothing. Okay. It is 12:59. We are adjourned at the call of the chair.